Hey, what's up, Dean? Sear Performance Bet Shop. So we got Alex, pretty sure, got his Silverado Sierra. I think it's Silverado. I gotta check what year it is. It's got to be like a 90s. Let's see. Here we go. 93. No, 92. It's April of 92. So I would say it's a 92 Silverado with what we believe is a 5.3 that he had at another shop, and 2 years later, this is basically what they got done. So I went ahead and kind of went through everything. I already know the wiring is going to be the biggest thing, because the way they routed the Terminator harness, they shoved it this way through the firewall because they were lazy, like most people are. And you can see they bored a big hole down there, kind of just shoved it through and went, meh, that's good. So you got the relay out here, the fuse is out here, all of the wires are out here, and the CAN bus, you could just almost see, is behind the firewall. So there's no way to even get to the CAN bus plug. So I kind of already started doing some stuff. The major thing was I got his drive shaft out, which is standing up right there, and the yoke needs to be changed. The U-joints need to be changed as well. But I took a quick measurement of it, and where this sat at the seal about right here is about 64 inches. And what I measured from bottom of the joint, like back of the cup, the farthest back of the cup, to the edge of the transmission seal is only like 58 3/4. So the drive shaft needs to be roughly an inch or an inch and a half shorter than that to allow that the movement. You got to allow the yoke to slip in and out of the transmission as the suspension cycles. So this is the new yoke, which I'm just basically going to shove in the transmission. But so what I started with was, I already knew the motor was so far back. I couldn't even see if there was a dipstick in it. There's not. Can't quite see down in there, but the dipstick tube hole is down in there. I can see the crank sensors hanging right there. That white tag, you can see it says crank, and there's the plug for it. So they didn't even plug anything in down there. They just kind of threw the harness on, plugged a couple of things in, and left it at that. So I went ahead and loosened up the loose motor mount bolts. You can see better on this side. If you look back in the other video, these bolts were all the way back on the slider. So I went ahead and loosened them up and got them almost, I'd say at least 3/4 of the way, if not a little better. So I took a tube, jacked the back of the transmission up, and kind of put it down in between the steering stuff and the crank pulley, and just kind of eased it forward. It's not super hard to do. You're not tugging the heck out of it. So I think I got it pretty close to where I want it, as far as like firewall spacing is good. It's not a mile away from the firewall. It is a mile away from the firewall, but it's not anything odd. And we already got the radiator in here, so that's the distance. You've got well over 8 inches from the radiator to the crank pulley, that I just noticed has a nice chip in it. That's cool. So I think I'm going to be good there. I might try to pull it forward. I just got to check the pan clearance, which looks like there's a mile of clearance, because there's a ton of clearance underneath. So I think I got enough. I could even pull it that extra, 3/4 of an inch forward, get myself a little more space. I already know I'm going to have to bring the drive shaft down, have them cut it. I'm just going to have them do the whole drive shaft. There's no point in me doing any of it because this is those weird GM where they like melt injected plastic into it. So I'm just going to have them, once I get everything done, I'll call Central Florida Driveline. I know it's like a couple of measurements they need. Then I could bring them this drive shaft and that yoke, that slip yoke, and I'll just have them cut the drive shaft, balance the drive shaft, put new U-joints, put the yoke on, and then we have 100% good to go drive shaft. So what I'm going to do now is probably, I might leave the motor there. I did find a dipstick too. It's right there on the table. All over the place today. So I do have a dipstick for it. Pretty sure that's 4L60. So I think, oh, she's tight. What I'm gonna do is, look at, oh, there it is right there. Okay. So that's where he blew the hole. Yeah, you can see the CAN bus is way up in there. Like that would be a pain in the butt to get to. So, not that it'll be in a much better spot, because honestly, there is no room for any of this stuff with this heater box. So I may have overstepped on that one. May not actually be able to reroute that anywhere. I'll have to look and see what I can see. I might have to take this glove box out and see if I can kind of get some of the harness up in here. I don't know yet. But yeah, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to pop that out before I go disconnecting everything. Because I may be in a situation where there's no room for that wiring harness. So it may have to stay out here. I might be able to get that relay in there though. If I can kind of get the relay in, it'll buy a little bit of real estate for the CAN bus. Don't know that I'll get that relay in there though. That stinks. But so anyways, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna pull that glove box out. Yeah, and then I'll by the end of today, I want to have the motor in its position. I'll get the transmission dipstick in. I have the starter for it right there. Whoops, that's my hand. Right here, I got the starter. I got the bolts. I have a bunch of stuff. All the tick stuff came for the Nova. The gasket kit came. That's got all the lifters, valve springs, all that stuff. The little transmission adapter piece of Rooney for the back of the head. But I can't really move forward with that because I gotta sort out the heads, which Jim sent me a picture of the motor. He's gonna find out what we're gonna figure out for those. So by the end of today, I want to at least have the Holly wired up and figured out to where I can turn the key on and have power to it. I believe I got to find the fuel pump wiring. Not sure where that's going to be on this truck. I'll probably pull a schematic for this truck. But I got to get the fuel pump wiring, see if there's any fuel in the tank, see if it's good or bad. So, yeah. Let me get all that sorted, and I'll be back. Alright, so here's where I'm at. A little bit of a struggle street today, but I got the ground off the frame, got that on the block. You can see it down there. And then the starter's in. Oh, it's back there. With the battery cable I made. The new positive battery cable. There's the starter. I found the solenoid wire, hooked that up. I also had to heat sleeve almost the whole entire length of it. You can see it back there looped up. The header, I'm going to recommend to him to get rid of these headers. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I ended up taking the entire Holly harness off, pulled it out, cut all the tape off of it, pulled the input and output harness back so that it's not down over there. The like 5-volt, the auxiliary or whatever they call it, is still over there. So typically you don't use that. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I pulled the fuel pressure out. You can see I just taped the harness down in there. I taped the wires up. So I pulled that all the way back so that if we want to put a fitting in the rail or something. He has a Corvette filter, which I'm not a fan of those, but we're going to work with what we got for now. So that should be 58 PSI. When I unplugged the map sensor, this does not fit. So I think the map sensor for this is like the single O-ring style. So I'll have to either pick one up or plug that and use the Holley map sensor. I'd rather just use it out here. But then I got all the power wires separated into grounds. So the two red and the white are the key-on ignition for the ECU and the transmission solenoids. Then the reds are straight to battery. The blacks are straight to battery. I put a couple of bolts. I ran to the auto parts store. I had to get the lugs for the cables, and but they didn't have any of like the standoff style, so I ordered those. But I just put a couple bolts just to hold stuff in place. So I got the Holley main power and ground crimped, heat shrunk on there. I got the main battery cable moved to the block down there. You can see that bolt right there. Then I built the power cable, whatever you want to call it. And I think I did that in the beginning, but that's on the starter. But I had to drop the starter, put the crank sensor off, take the crank sensor off, then put the crank sensor back on. So all that's back on. Everything's looped. I got to find a way to hold it up so it doesn't droop down onto the header. That's not a big deal. Probably just zip tie it to this other harness here. That'll also hold that loom together on it. But I'm not, that was all pulled off, so I'm not doing that yet, just because I don't know if Goofy cut something in there. I do know that there's all of those that are cut. There's big pinks, a bunch of blacks, greens, purple, a bunch more blacks. So there's a bunch of wires in here, and as they continue up, they get cut more and more and more, because that's what you do. You just cut the shit and you leave it in there. I should have probably just pulled all this out, because I'm gonna end up going through it all anyways. So, not sure what happened. I think I thumbed my phone, but yeah, I mean, this is stupid. You don't do this, because all these pinks are guaranteed power, key-on power. Like, you're a moron if you do that. So now I got to sort through those, but I'm not doing that yet. That's kind of a next phase type of thing. So like I said, I got the motor pulled forward, so I'm kind of at the point. I noticed there's no plugs in the motor, which scares me, because if you look at all the bolts, you can see the fuzz on the head bolts. It will not focus. There it goes. You can see all the fuzz on the head bolts. So I wonder what the inside of the cylinders look like. Great. Yep. But everything's plugged back in. I mean, really, they didn't have much plugged in. So I got to get a coolant sensor to be able to put that in. But now everything is plugged in for the Holley, minus the coolant and map and wideband, which these headers do not have an O2 bung welded in them. Not that that's a big deal, but I don't like these headers. I'm gonna suggest to him to get a set of headers for this truck. I believe they sell like nice long tube headers. So I'm gonna suggest that we can get it running on these, but I'm not pulling it off, welding the bung in, putting it on. It's just gonna melt all the wires. It's gonna melt the transmission hose. So it's just stupid. the way those headers were made. I don't know whose headers they are. They're probably just cheap Amazon headers. So I kind of came to a point with this without the injector harness, which is ordered and it's on its way, without plug wires, which I'm going to steal the plug wires from the Nova because I'll end up getting him new ones. So I'll just throw these on for now. They should fit. So being that I'm kind of at a point with that, that's kind of a stall point. Other than I could wire the stuff up and do all that, but there's no, I don't know. I want the Nova up and running. He's waiting, so I'm not just gonna not work on it. Jim's still working on figuring out what he's gonna do with the other motor. So in the meantime, I went ahead. You can see over there, those are head gaskets on my motor that was all together. And these are the 243s that were on my motor that I already did the dual springs and all that good stuff. So they are now on his motor. New head bolts, new head gaskets, all that's done. This stupid gasket kit did not come with the O-rings for the valley cover, and it's not a Gen 4 valley cover, even though it's a Gen 4 kit. Make it make sense. So I don't know. I'll have to order another Velcro valley cover so that I could put this on. But being that these were mine, I did not clean them nearly as good as I would like to clean them for him. And this is actually a remanufactured head. That's what the little plug is. Can't Regis removed, void if removed. So I know this is a remanufactured head, but this came off a good running motor. Both of those. Holy smokes, falling over. So, oh, that's actually a reman head too. Sweet. But as long block is together, I'm going to finish up. I just wanted to show, like, the springs are on these heads already. The other set of tick springs are down there. So I'll just shelf those for whatever heads I get. I'm going to take the front cover, sandblast it, so it looks nice and clean. Then I can get that on with the new seal, the new gasket, put the crank pulley on, order this. I could do all the steam port stuff, and then it's ready to go in. I'll yank the other one out. I'll probably end up yanking that one out, the junk one, my junk one. I'll unbolt the transmission. I think I only got 2 or 3 bolts in it. I'll unbolt the transmission. I'll pull this one out. Get the oil pan off. Put the oil pan on that one. And stab it in here. The headers are here today. So yeah, that kind of works out good. So I'll have the headers tomorrow. I'll put it in. I did also find the other fitting that I dropped at the house. So that's in there now. For now, I got a 45 on this one. I don't know that I'm going to keep it, but we shall see, because I might do like 2 90s coming this way. It just depends on how the headers fit with the steering box and everything. Hopefully they fit good. I'm really tired of fighting with all kinds of stuff. Oh, I have the motor mount bolts too. Shit. I know I have them. Had them. Let's go with hat. No. I got them. Come on. They're right there. There's 2 of these. The grade 8 bolts. With the grade 8 nuts and the grade 8 washers. So they're all nice and neat. Make sure I don't forget them. I'll set them up here for now. But I'm going to go ahead and throw the valve covers on there with the new gaskets. Then this motor here, as far as right now, is pretty much done. Tomorrow, like I said, I'll sandblast the front cover, get it on, and hopefully be able to get that in the car. So that's it for this one. It's kind of a bum day, but I'm going to try to make something special. We had a loss this weekend. Our buddy Chris, he passed away on Saturday. He is, if you go way back on the channel, he is the sort of aqua teal Mustang Capri twin turbo car. That was the very first car we did here at the shop. other than Jeff's nightmare truck. But that was the first car that really did a lot of work on, and we're gonna miss that dude. He was a good person. We all have loss and grief, and our thoughts and prayers to the family, all the friends, Lewis, Jeff, Jeremy, Mark, his kids, everybody. Love you guys. Be safe. Have a good one. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, blah blah blah.